those of you who don't know me, my name is Kenzie and I'm so happy that you found my channel. Today's video, I'm going to be talking about the unsolved murders of the Walker family. An entire family was massacred, so we're going to be talking about the Walker family murders, and yeah, let's just go right into this troubling case. So the Walker family was a family of four. Cliff, who was 25, Christine, who was 24, and then their kids, Jimmy, who was 3, and Debbie, who was 1. And they lived just outside the small town of Osprey in Florida. On December 20th of 1959, a family friend of the Walkers was actually on his way to the family farm. Daniel McLeod set out to meet Cliff to go hog hunting later in the day, or early in the morning that day. So he arrived at the Walker family ranch. He said that it was kind of eerie because there was a darkness over the house, whereas Daniel thought it was weird because the Walkers were known to wake up early. I mean, they had 2 young children. Young children tend to wake up early, so he said that it was really weird that they weren't already up and ready. So Daniel said that he did think it was a little bit weird. However, people sleep in, it happens. So he just got out of his truck or car or whatever, went to the door and started knocking on it. However, he got increasingly more worried when nobody answered. So he started to search around the house, and he peeked into the window where he saw that somebody was lying there, which made him even more worried because they're not answering and they're lying on the floor. So he decided something must be wrong, and he quickly noted that the family car was actually not parked where it usually is. So he made the decision to cut through the screen door, and the worst thing he could have possibly imagined is what he found. The entire Walker family was dead. They had all been murdered. Like I said, he did see somebody laying on the floor through the window, which really made him worry, and that was actually Christine. And upon closer inspection, Christine was actually laying in a puddle of her own blood, and she was dead on the floor right in the doorway. Cliff and Jimmy were later found together, dead in a corner, and little Debbie was found dead in a bathtub. Of course, like anybody, Daniel ran from the home and phoned the police immediately. So while the police were searching the house for evidence, they actually found that a lot of odd things had been stolen. This includes, I'm going to read it right off my computer. Things such as Christine's high school majorette uniform and Cliff's pocket knife, as well as their marriage certificate. These things are so bizarre and like so minor, and like how is police gonna figure out if that she still had her uniform? How, like, it just makes, like, I would not notice going into somebody else's closet if they were missing anything, let alone a high school uniform. You know what I mean? Like, things so odd, but I guess it was back then. They probably all knew, like, she was on this majorette team or whatever, and so I guess they put 2 and 2 together. I don't know, but it was a little weird. Like these things are so minor yet significant. So another thing that was odd is that the killer actually left a lot of evidence behind, such as a bloody boot, some cigarette wrappers, and fingerprints on the bathtub where little Debbie was found. So they tried to piece together what the Walkers' day would have been before they had been murdered, and they decided that due to sightings and things like that the Walkers had actually been in town, and that Christine was the first to arrive home, and she arrived home with groceries around 4 p.m. It was also determined that she wasn't attacked right away upon her arrival at home. She actually had time to set the groceries down in the kitchen, where she was then attacked, and she actually did get away. She fought off the attacker with her high heel. However, she got out of the house after attacking the attacker with a high heel, and then the attacker did later catch up with her and drag her back inside the house. Once she was dragged back inside the house, she was actually dragged up to one of her children's rooms, where she was then raped and then shot by a .22. I don't know anything about guns, but if guns mean anything to you, she was shot by a .22 gun. It did take 2 shots to kill her, but they were unfortunately successful after 2 shots, and Christine was then dead. Shortly after that, they assumed that Cliff had arrived home with both the children. Cliff had been shot in the face and killed, and little Jimmy had actually been shot at the back of the head, but he somehow survived and started crawling over to where his dead father was, and then little Jimmy was shot again, where they were unfortunately successful, and both Cliff and Jimmy were now dead. And next was little Debbie, who was also shot, but it is believed that, again, the shot did not kill Debbie, and that is why they took her up to the bathtub, where she was then drowned, and that is why she was found in a blood-filled bathtub. Police actually found 2 strands of hair, 2 different strands of hair. So this made police and investigators believe that this was not the work of just one killer, but 2. Did actually have quite a few suspects at the names at first. So the first was obviously Daniel McLeod, the man who found them. Wilbur Tucker was also named a suspect because he was actually known as the town pervert, where he had actually been seen trying to kiss Christine and like basically sexually harass Christine. He just had a lot of indecent propositions toward Christine, but he was later determined not a suspect as he had an airtight alibi. Albert Walker was actually one of Cliff's cousins, and he was a suspect for the longest time. He was known as a wild and violent drunk, and he actually was known to making advances towards Christine as well. A lot of family members and people in the town thought that he was acting as a grief-stricken family member and putting on a show, for lack of a better word, just because he actually fainted twice at the funeral. So yeah, he fainted twice. He did, however, pass a polygraph test, but he was actually not eliminated as a suspect until 2006, when he was eliminated through DNA testing. Next is Curtis McCall. He is known for troublemaking, and he has a history with violence. And if you're from a small town, you know small towns talk, and there was rumors going across the town that he actually had an affair with Christine. And it was also widely known that he owned a .22 gun. When he was questioned, though, he did deny any relationship with Christine, and he also claimed that he had sold his .22 gun a long time ago. He did take 3 polygraph tests, which all of the results came back inconclusive, and it was determined that he was too nervous to give an accurate reading on the polygraph test. However, it was also determined that he was highly likely to be lying. So it is said that hundreds of people actually took a polygraph test relating to this case, but the case was essentially cold until 1962. Emmett Monroe Spencer was a serial killer, and he actually claimed responsibility for the Walker family murders. Unfortunately, this was deemed a false confession by Sarasota County Sheriff Ross Boyer, as Emmett was actually a well-known pathological liar. So in 1959, Perry Smith and Richard Hickok had actually robbed and murdered the Clutter family. It was a very similar murder scene as the Walker family murders, but the Clutter family was in Kansas. So they essentially thought these 2 family massacres were related, as it was very similar circumstances. An entire family was murdered. However, the Clutter family kind of had a motive behind it. They were given, the killers were given false information about the family. So there was somewhat of a motive behind their murders. And both of these killers actually did pass a polygraph test, and they were no longer considered suspects. Harry Smith and Richard Hickok were actually sentenced to death for the Clutter family murders. So they were sentenced to death by hanging. However, both their bodies were exhumed later on to match DNA to the semen that they actually found in Christine's body. And they both came back inconclusive. Even though this case is still cold and unsolved today, it is said that Perry and Richard were the best suspects for this crime. There is one other lead, and that is one of a Pennsylvania woman called the Sarasota County Police, and she claimed that she was a bartender in Pennsylvania and that one of her regulars had come in and he was very upset and distraught and was very drunk, and he admitted to murdering a family or did something very bad or something along those lines, and the name Walker had popped up in conversation. However, after this initial phone call, she never did phone back, so that lead eventually just went nowhere. That is everything I could find on the Walker family murders, and unfortunately this case is still unsolved today. The Walker family never got justice, which is very unfortunate because they were such a young family. I hate unsolved mysteries to begin with, but yeah, this is unsolved murders of the Walker family. So that is it for today's video, you guys. I hope you did enjoy. I hope you subscribe so you never miss a video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.